Good morning, welcome back to Football League World TV. It's Friday morning, and that means it's time for the EFL Betting Show. I'm your host, George Dagless, and joining me this morning, Billy Mulley and Chris Gallagher. Billy, how are you?
Yep, doing well, thank you. Yeah, looking forward to getting into these picks. I know it's FA Cup weekend, but I was a bit too scared to try and delve into that market.
Okay, we'll see what you've come up with in a minute. Chris, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Yeah, same. I think I've mainly championship focused tonight, and it starts with a good game later on, doesn't it?
It certainly does. People watching at home, do get in touch. Let us know your picks for the weekend. We'll try and find you some good value as we go along inside the next 20 minutes. Should just say as well, do gamble responsibly and please be over 18 if you are going to place a bet. Let's get straight into it. Let's talk bankers first of all. Chris, let's come to you first of all. What's your banker this weekend?
I've gone for Nottingham Forest at home to Peterborough. I know the Steve Cooper obviously got off to a brilliant start and things have stuttered a bit recently, but I think you have to look at Peterborough's away form. I think they've lost 9 of 10 in the Championship this season, which is obviously it's awful. They're letting in goals quite frequently away from home, and I think Forest, whilst they haven't played well recently, they do have a good team. I think at home, I fancy them to win. I think they're around 7 to 10, which I think is decent value as well.
Yeah, I was looking at the Championship market for banker, and there's quite a lot of tough picks in there really, but Forest is certainly one that stood out at home to Peterborough this weekend. I haven't gone for that personally. We'll come to mine in a minute. Billy, what's your banker for this weekend and why?
Exactly the same as Chris. I've gone for Forest. I'm not too sure if that's a good thing that we've both spotted that as a banker. But but as Chris says, I think it's more to do with Peterborough's awful away record than to do with Forest's ability at the moment to win matches. But yeah, it's a really good opportunity for Forest to build on something and try and get closer to those playoffs, which is what's going to be their ambition this season. I think in terms of those 10 games that they've played away from home, Peterborough this season, that they've been outplayed in the majority of them. I think the one they did win as well, it was more of a smash and grab win as opposed to actually outplaying their opponents. So I think Peterborough have struggled massively on the road, but their home record is sort of justified why they're sort of hanging in there at the moment. I think as Chris was saying as well, Forest going forward's got some really exciting talents and players like Lyle Taylor and Grabban that score goals at this division for a long time. So I think that Forest might prove to be a bit too difficult to stop.
Yeah, Peterborough's away form certainly poor at the moment. They'll also be looking to rectify that. But in terms of the Championship, that's certainly the standout banker. Forest at home. As mentioned at the top of the show, there was obviously FA Cup action this weekend, so we won't delve into that too much. But I have gone into that for my banker this weekend at least, and it's tonight. Charlton away at Gateshead. I'm back in the Addicts to get a victory there, 11 to 20 on with Sky Bet. Obviously, Gateshead will be looking to cause an upset, and at home, the locals there will be looking to generate an atmosphere that Charlton potentially may struggle with, but I think they'll be okay. Johnny Jackson obviously looking to get himself that permanent job, and I think a cup run is only going to put him in good stead for that as well. I think he's going to name a fairly strong side for this one, so I do expect Charlton to get the job done there up in the northeast. Let's move away from our bankers then. Let's talk accumulators next. Billy, let's go to you first of all now for this one. Who's your accumulator? Who's in it? And what odds have you got with that?
So sticking with my banker, I've got Nottingham Forest. I've also got Blackburn to beat Preston. I've got Cardiff to beat Sheffield United. And then I've got Fulham to win tonight's game against Bournemouth. I think Forest, as I mentioned, I think they're going to have too much for a Peterborough side that are struggling away from home. Blackburn, I know sort of the Lancashire rivalry against Preston might turn this game into something that's unexpected or sort of follow that typical trend of derby games where they, it becomes quite difficult to call. But I think Blackburn at the moment, they've turned a corner massively since that 7-0 defeat against Fulham. I think they deserve to be where they are in the table. They deserve to be part of that top 6, and going forward, the likes of Brereton Diaz, Kadri now is starting to show why they took him on loan from Brighton and why he's got a really good, bright future in this in English football. Dolan as well, all players that can create and sort of dismantle this Preston defence. And I think Preston, as well, they might be on sort of a decent enough record, 10 points from 6 games, but they're still not the best feeling around the camp there. So I think that Blackburn might capitalise on this and win that game. Next one's Cardiff, which for me could have been a value bet, but I've opted against it. Their 3 wins from 4 under Steve Morrison, sort of a shift in emphasis. I don't think the performances have been brilliant. I don't think that they've sort of everything's changed, but I think they're starting to pick up again, and performances are getting better and better as his reign continues. That's 23-10, so that was quite a standout one against Sheffield United, who've suffered from inconsistencies this season. And last one is Fulham, purely because I feel that they're a class above anyone in this division. Bournemouth have been good and may well go on to get promotion and give their best in the Premier League. But I think Fulham are a club that are already playing as a Premier League side. I think if their squad was in the Premier League this season, they'd be comfortable and sort of comfortable in avoiding the drop. So they're a really good side for me. And at 10-11, I think that they'll go on to win that. That all comes to 22.4 to 1 with Bet365. Okay,
that's a pretty good shout there, Billy. Particularly like the Blackburn one. I was looking at them on Sky Bet actually earlier, and I was surprised that they're 5-4. I'm surprised they weren't odds on. To be honest, given the way they're going at the moment. Chris, let's come to you. Who's in your accumulator, and what odds have you got there?
I've played it pretty safe, to be fair. I've only gone for a treble, and as Billy mentioned, I've gone with Forest, and I've also gone with Fulham as well. As we touched on there, he's saying the squad is just so good, and I think Bournemouth going into tonight's game with a few issues. They've got Lerma suspended. There's doubt to think about Gary Cahill, and I don't think they have a squad that is as deep as Fulham. So when you're missing players like that, it's going to tell. So I think with home advantage as well, I do think Fulham are a good bet tonight. And then the final one, I've actually gone against Billy. I'm going for Sheffield United at Cardiff. Again, you look at I can't argue with the form. Like Steve Morrison has turned things around, but I think when you look player for player, I think the Blades will be able to deal with the physicality that Cardiff pose. I think the back 3 are very strong, and they should be able to deal with the crosses that come in, the set pieces. And then I think going forward, they've got a lot of quality. So I'm not sure Heckingbottom is the right man to take them up this season, but I do think he's working with one of the better squads in the league. And I think they'll get a win in Wales, which I think it pays at just around 7-1. So it's not amazing, but short price winner's better than a long price loser.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Chris. Sometimes it's best to go safe and actually win some money than be ambitious and lose it all. It's a good tip. As for my accumulator, I've got threefold like yourself, actually, a treble, Chris. I've gone for Coventry at home to West Brom. I just wonder if Coventry are going to, pile the pressure on Valerian Ismail a little bit more this weekend. I've also got Blackburn in there. I did like them at 5-4, so I put them in my accumulator. I've gone for a draw between Millwall and Birmingham. We know Millwall like a draw. The fans probably don't, but their team seems to at the moment. They're just 1 point between Birmingham and Millwall in the Championship table as well. So I've gone for a draw between those two. That's at 22-1 on Sky Bet, that treble. So a little bit steeper than yours, Chris. You'll end up probably winning some money this weekend, therefore, and I will not. Let's move away from our accumulators. Let's talk value bet up next. Chris, let's start with you for this one.
Yeah, I've gone with Coventry, as you've obviously put them in, so you think they can get a win as well. I think 21-10 at home, which is I think they got the joint best record at home in the league, which is shows how good they are at home. And then West Brom struggles really. They've not scored recently in the last 3, they've not won in 4. And as you said, there's a lot of negativity around the club for a side that are 4th in the league. The fans aren't happy. There's rumours about the players not being happy with the Ismail's methods, and they're going into the game with problems in midfield with Malumbi and Livermore suspended. So I don't really understand the odds here. Obviously, there's not much between them in the table as well. So, I think Coventry are a good price here, 21-10.
Yeah, I think that's a really good shout. I do like the Coventry pick this weekend. Billy, who have you got for your value bet?
It's going back to your ACCA, your third choice. I've got Millwall 1, Birmingham 1, 5-1. I think in terms of Millwall, we've spoken a lot about them being the draw specialists, and at a time where it seemed that they were turning a corner, that they've come back and secured a few more draws. So I think 9 out of their 20 have been draws so far, with 8 of those being 1-1. So 40% of their games have been 1-1 draws this year, and at 5-1, I think that's quite a good bet.
Yeah, certainly a very good shout. We've got a comment coming in on YouTube as well from Wayne, a Fulham fan. Good morning. Bournemouth a good team, but as a Fulham fan, we'll win 3-1 and Mitro will score. I think that's a fair shout, and it kind of lends itself nicely to my value pick for tonight. In fact, it's a Sky Bet Boost actually, 20-1, 22-1 even. Mitrovic to score over 2.5 goals, 5+ corners in each half, and Philip Billing to be carded. I think that is potentially a good shout, something you could certainly see happening at Craven Cottage this evening. I'll be there for Football League as well, so looking forward to that one. Just before we wrap up the betting show, then time to get on to our last section, and that is the wild card. Billy, who's your wild card for this weekend?
So I've gone for a bit of a wild card accumulator. I've got Coventry and West Brom to draw. I think Coventry have lost a bit of ground in recent weeks, but I think the performances have still been there. They might not be picking up the points and maintaining that pressure on the top two, but they have managed to put the performances in to justify that they should be where they are in and around the top 6. And as we said there, West Brom they're not devastating enough for the attack that they have at their disposal. Obviously, the negativity around Ishmael and his methods and the lack of adaptability, I think that's a big point within their camp at the moment. So, yeah, I think that would be a draw. Blackpool-Luton as well, I think, will be a draw. I think it on paper and within the odds as well, it's very difficult to split the two teams. Both haven't been in the best of form in recent weeks, but both have put in good performances at times. I think Neil Critchley has said that despite picking up 3 points in the last 5 games, they've been playing well and have been deserving more than they've been getting. Shane Lavery's back as well for Blackpool. He came on as a sub, so he might be on from the start and give Luton some real problems. The other one, another draw, is Bristol City versus Derby. Bristol City, for me, haven't been too great in recent weeks. I think against Sheffield United as well, it wasn't the best performance. But Derby, I think they lack a little bit of a clinical edge in them. They tend to dominate midfield battles and individual battles, but they're quite reliant on Lawrence and Jason Knight for chances and goals as well. I think that they're missing a striker to really propel their position and try and to get out the rot they're in. So I think that's going to be another draw. And the final draw is, as I've already said, Millwall versus Birmingham for the reasons of Millwall always drawing their games. And that comes in at 100.58 to 1 with Bet365.
Wow, that is, you'd be having a good weekend if that came in. Billy, there'll be drinks on you, I think. Chris, who's your wild card for this week?
I kept it a bit simple. I've gone just for Matt Clark, anytime scorer for West Brom. I said how they could struggle, but I think they're always a threat off set pieces. And I think this season, Dara Shade scored twice. I think Bartley scored twice, and Jay scored once. So they're just getting big men in the box. Really, there's nothing to it. They can throw it in, free kicks, corners. They're always a massive threat. And I think I've seen them a few times. Clark gets a few opportunities, but he's not as prolific as the other players I just mentioned. But that's reflected in the odds. I think he's 18-1 to score any time. I think for an Albion centre half, any of them, the others are priced around 8-1. So if you for 18-1 for someone who's going to be going up, who's going to be challenging, and we've seen the way he plays, he's aggressive, he's strong in the air. So I think it's a decent bet against a Coventry side that will struggle. Everyone really struggles against West Brom when they do get the numbers in because they are a physical side. So I think he doesn't have the best goal scoring record, but I think he will get goals this season. So I'll go for Clark anytime.
Yeah, that certainly could be a good shout for this weekend, Chris. And finally, my wild card. It kind of clashes with part of Billy's really, and what he said about Derby. I've gone for a Derby 3-0 victory win at Ashton Gate this weekend with Tom Lawrence to score first. That's 130-1 on Sky Bet. I suppose it's a wild card, so we might as well go for something a little bit ambitious. Tom Lawrence has been in good form though so far in recent weeks for Derby in particular. 3 in his last 3, got 2 against Bournemouth in their win over the Cherries. A goal against Queen's Park Rangers, obviously on the wrong side of the result that time, but it was a late Andre Gray goal that took any points away from Derby. And Tom Lawrence had good chances in the 0-0 draw with Fulham as well. So he's certainly, looking sharp for the Rams. Bristol City at home, we know that, their home form has not been good in 2021, and there's every chance that Derby will use what happened against QPR on Monday night as potential motivation to get back to winning ways. And these are the sort of games with Bristol City, not in direct threat of relegation at the moment, but they're certainly closer in the table than the likes of Fulham and Bournemouth are to the Rams. These are the sort of games that Wayne Rooney will be targeting to get results. So it's a good opportunity for Derby to try and make a real statement. 3-0, admittedly, is quite steep with Tom Lawrence, the first goal scorer, but 130 to 1, it could well be worth £1 at least of your money this weekend. That brings the betting show on Football League World TV to a close for the week. Coming up, one final show for this week on the channel. That's the EFL Weekend Preview at 4 p.m. Alfie Burns will be hosting that one. He's joined by Adam Jones and Marcus Alley. But Chris, Billy, thanks very much for joining me this morning. Go well this weekend. If you do place any of the bets, hopefully you'll bring some of them in. Certainly, Billy, looking forward to seeing you bring in that 100 to 1 odd wild card at the end of this weekend. And Chris, enjoy whatever picks you make as well. Do, as I said, bet responsibly. Anyone that does place any bets, we can't take any flack for getting any of the tips wrong that we've suggested this morning. It's highly likely that will be the case. But hopefully you do make a little bit of money this weekend. Enjoy the football, enjoy the championship, enjoy FA Cup second round action as well. And we'll speak to you very, very soon.